Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So tell me about your summer.
Oh gosh, summer. We moved into a house. I'm trying to think of the last time you and I chatted. It's been a little bit.
I feel like it was right after you got back from France. Or was it?
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, okay. So that was late, that was springtime, April, May.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Since that time, we have moved into a house
Mm-hmm.
from our apartment. So we moved to
Nice.
Delaware just over about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we found, after scouting out neighborhoods and schools and things like that, we determined that this neighborhood is the best neighborhood for us. And and actually, the reason I'm talking to you from this random room of my house is because we're having renovations done, which is all very exciting. Um,
Yes.
we've been displaced to about 40% of our full living space. And gosh, it's close because I can smell the paint fumes from here.
Oh
So
wow.
we're in the final stages. What else is new? So new house, new school for the kiddo,
Mm-hmm.
new fun things for my coaching practice that I've been doing. Yeah, I signed up for a marathon, so new things in the health and fitness realm. Got a new truck,
My
so that's cool.
gosh. That is
Yeah,
so awesome. Lots of really cool new things happening. What about the
yeah.
coaching stuff? What are you doing?
So recently, and that's happened since I last chatted with you, I've gotten into doing these all-day coaching intensives, as opposed to the more traditional coaching packages that I had been doing kind of all along, and I continue to do. These are more of a one-time deal where we go all in, super intense, super intentional, for a full day, so 8 hours
Uh,
of the day. And I've been doing them in person as well as virtually, and found that they both work really well. So
nice.
that's
So
been a pretty new thing.
is it like immersion? Do you like immerse yourself in like a topic, or is it like
So sure. So the topic would be you,
mm-hmm.
basically. So
Nice.
this is someone who wants, okay, I don't want to commit to some long-term accountability thing. I don't want to have something else to add to my calendar, but I just really want to get focused in on my direction, where I want to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Either because they feel like they're spinning the wheels or they're just not quite getting at it. So when I meet with a person, they come to me with a symptom, we'll call it, right? So
Right.
whatever it is, job dissatisfaction, whatever. Um, and so we spend the whole day. The first part of the day is envisioning what they want their ideal lifestyle really to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And we touch on career, typically. We touch on health and wellness, their habits, their relationships, how they want to be spending their time.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to the end of the day, we're all exhausted, emotional, we've laughed, cried, yelled, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we have no other distractions, right? And so we've just really drilled down into now we have a specific actionable plan.
Mm.
Typically, it ends up looking like a calendar, a usable calendar that they'll actually devote themselves to.
Oh,
But
fantastic.
all of their priorities are reflected in the calendar. So
Mm-hmm.
they will be spending time on the things and on the people that they want to.
Mm.
It's phenomenal, and they have an accountability plan so that we're not just leaving like, well, there you go, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's me as their accountability moving forward, or typically we identify people in their lives
Right.
who will hold them accountable, but also being very specific about it. It's not just, oh, I'll get my husband to hold me accountable,
Right.
because your husband's going to be like, oh, I thought you wanted to go run in the morning. It's like, I thought you wanted to, you
Right.
don't want to start this kind of thing. It's like, yeah, it's like, okay. And then your accountability is gone right after the
Right.
first, moment of conflict. So
Right.
anyway, it's a very exciting part of,
That's
what
fantastic.
I do now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's good.
Mm.
How about you?
Oh,
Been going on since we last spoke.
since April, May. Well, um, in all honesty, I think, life is happening a little bit more than my mother's been pretty ill. And so I put all my energy and focus on helping with around that and then trying to get
Totally.
through that myself. So she was in the hospital. I think she's been out of her home for now like 6 weeks. And so that's sort of what's been encompassing me lately. And before that, I was feeling like a little uncentered, ungrounded. So I had some work stuff going on and I had to like figure that stuff out. So I stopped writing for a couple of months.
Sure.
and just allowed myself just a break from everything.
Hmm.
I still work with my clients and they're amazing. And then I developed a workshop that I'm going to do in person, hopefully in January or February. I'm waiting on the space. I have a dear friend who teaches Thai massage, and she's going to let me use her teaching space, but she is in, lucky her, Thailand for the next 3 months.
Oh, darn. Yeah.
I know. Dang. So as soon as she gets back, we're going to do some planning around that. And it will be, I'm hoping, like a 2-day immersion type of thing, a Saturday and Sunday all day. Very intimate, about
Yeah.
6 to 8 people. And kind of the same thing, like figuring out what their life wants to look like. I probably don't have as many details as you have down, but I have sort of an outline and some bullet points and some things that I think are really important.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that, and then I'm doing a couple of vision board workshops, which I do every year here
Hmm.
in Longmont. And then I started writing again, and that's fantastic. And then I'm not doing the radio show anymore, which is
Oh, no kidding.
super uber fantastic.
Is it good? Oh, okay.
It
Wonderful.
is really good and it was my choice.
Yeah.
I I loved the opportunity. I learned a lot. Um, I didn't like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning every
Oh,
week.
oh,
That
no
was the one
kidding.
thing.
Yeah.
And then I felt a lot of pressure to find people every week and commit people. And I usually try to get people at least, 3 to 4 weeks out, sometimes
Yeah.
longer on the schedule. And just to manage that took more time away from my clients and my practice. And it just didn't feel like that was my purpose and my mission.
Hmm.
So when I stopped doing that, I started doing the podcast. And so I can record that whenever I want.
Kind of cool, huh?
It's
Yeah.
very cool. It's
Uh-huh.
very cool. And I don't have a time limit. I don't have sensors. I don't have, that kind of stuff. So it just felt like a good move for me.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a shift for me because I felt like there was a tiny piece of that, being a radio personality kind of set me apart a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
in looking at, just data, because sometimes you have to look at data to be data driven in decision making.
Hmm.
You think if it was getting me a whole lot of traffic or a whole lot of interactions or new connections, but it
Yeah.
really wasn't. So was I making an impact? Absolutely. But was it the impact that I really wanted to make? Probably not. So
Yeah.
it was a good shift for me. It was one of those like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I just I just messaged the dude and said, these are my last 2 shows, and I hope that you honor them. And
Yeah.
I will be done as of the 1st of September.
Good for you.
Yeah. So it felt really sort of like, at first I was like, oh shit. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fantastic. Like the first
Yeah.
Tuesday I didn't have to get up. I was like, I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just felt like the good move. And I took so many lessons from that. And, I pretty much know how to do my own radio station on a website, which would be
Let's
very
say, yeah,
cool.
you don't erase that experience, right? You
Nope.
take it with you, and you
Yeah.
still get to carry that radio personality or persona if you want to, and you can
Yeah.
tap into it at any given point. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I just love, like I really just wanted to give somebody and people a platform to share their stories because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And I can still do that with the podcast. Now I don't have, I had like 90,000 people listening to my last show, which was phenomenal. And
Oh
now
my.
my podcast has 80 people.
Yeah, 80 strong. 80
it'll,
strong.
it'll just be even better soon. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I
that's
don't want
cool.
it to run everything. It's just a way for people to share their story.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Well, anytime you want to get, super intentional and like fine tune things, you give me a call and we'll get it all straight. Because you do have a lot of things still going on. And can I
Hmm.
ask how your mom's doing?
She's doing better. So basically she has MS. I think I shared that with you. And it comes and goes. She has episodes. And about 6 weeks ago, and she also has she wore some hiking shoes, thinking that she was all badass, and she got like a blister,
Oh,
and it just wouldn't heal and wouldn't heal, and so it turned into like almost like a pressure wound,
oh God.
and so she couldn't really get that. We've been working since March to try and get this sort of under control, and within a matter of moments, it turned into this massive infection. And like I went over because my dad's like, I think mom's having a hard time. Can you come and just see what's going on? I said, sure. So I walked in and I was like, she doesn't look good.
Mm.
And I had just seen her like the day before. My dad had just, helped her with her, pants and stuff, and there was no redness in her leg. And I lifted up her leg and it was like bright red. And she was a
Oh,
little
that's,
disoriented. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna go to the hospital. And she hasn't been home since. So, and that was 6 weeks ago. And so
yeah.
she was really, her little body was just fighting this massive infection. And then she has to do some rehab after that. And she's doing really good. So hopefully before Thanksgiving, she'll be home. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
That'd be
So
nice.
yeah, and she was in a hospital that was a little far away. So I didn't get to go every day and see her, but now she's
Mm.
in rehab here in town. So much better, much easier to go and visit.
Yeah, that works out for you to be able to support her. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that feels good. It's really hard there was a couple of moments there. I'm not going to lie. When she was in the hospital, I was like, this is it. Like, this is the end, because they were
Hmm.
treating her for sepsis, and knowing her age and her compromised immune, like I was like, this is it. And so
Yeah.
it was pretty touch and go there for a little bit, a couple of days. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty scary, but
Yeah, it sounds incredibly scary. Yeah, and
hmm
talk about something that'll instantly put things into perspective, right?
yep. Yep. And there's so many things, like you talk about like health and fitness in um, your workshop. And do you call it a workshop?
Sure, that works.
Like that is so important. Like I think about the older we get, and like she's got some balance stuff with her MS, and so she leans over so her center of gravity is a little bit different, but that's
Hmm.
created like this like hunchback thing. So I
Yep.
find myself like trying to like be like this and back.
Yeah, you're that much more aware now. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And like when I watch her do rehab and ways like stand up straight, I'm like it's like she's like march in place, like when you walk, like march. So it's funny, my dad took a video and I was just marching like with my mom, and I was like, why am I marching?
Uh-huh. Yeah, subconsciously, you're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
taking note here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important. Like the people, I think, take that for granted a lot of
Sure.
time, their health and fitness and what they put in their body and how they eat. And it's like one of the most important things you can do. So
Gosh, it certainly seems to be, right? And it seems to be something that we have direct, immediate control over. But I think so
hmm
often, lives in the land of luxury. It's like, it's a luxury. I don't have the luxury of time to say, I'll just swing through McDonald's or whatever it is. It's like, I don't have
hmm
time to come up with a recipe or a meal plan or a this or that. It's like, okay,
hmm
maybe, but where does it fall in
yeah.
your priorities? I mean, you can't deny it just has an effect on how you go through your day. Absolutely everything else is
hmm
affecting your health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was thinking about asking you a question about your opinions and thoughts. And this just came to me this morning when I saw your Instagram video.
My first attempt. I
I
don't even
was
know
like,
how that's up. I can't even
yes.
find it now.
Well, I messaged you back. I'm like, post something, post something.
Yeah, the fact that you said that is like, well, clearly I didn't post something like I thought I did. So,
Well, you posted a video, but you didn't post like no, you posted your story on your story, but you didn't like put a post. But yeah, post something. But anyway, here's my thought. It's like so we're just talking about like what we put in our bodies and how we treat ourselves, and
yeah.
like the law of attraction and manifestation. What are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on it?
That's a kind of a loaded question.
That's super open and super loaded. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I want to know what you mean by that. Okay, I'll play. Um, I believe in it. We'll
hmm
start there. Um, I am so open to the idea of abundance, right?
hmm
Into manifestation, and to really you put out there whatever it is that you want and that you can receive it. But I'm so about the idea of being open that I really trying to find the exact words that I want here. I don't like to limit even my perspective on it, right?
hmm
I'm trying not to even limit that. That's the best I can give you in the
That's great.
immediacy. I believe in it so much that the universe wants to provide, that there's enough to go around for everybody, and we just have to tap into that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people do it in different ways. Different things speak to them, different languaging, different messages. I was trained in core energy, in different energy levels,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great way to view the world and to view human behavior and tendencies. But the majority of my clients don't talk that way. They don't talk
Mm-hmm.
about energy, right? They talk about time. They talk about the way, I don't know. Usually it's just their calendars, right? And stress, things like that.
Right. Right.
So as far as, yeah, I'm going to back up and be even more open in general.
I love it. So
how's that for non-committal?
no, I love it. I think so. What made me think about that this morning is I was looking. You know how Facebook is so generous with their sharing. Like, here's a memory from a year ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one came up for me, and I reposted it. But I just look at. I was looking at the difference in my smile and my eyes, and like the energy I had in this particular photo, versus maybe a photo I took like a couple of days ago. Like my eyes are different, my face is different, the energy looks different.
Yeah,
Just because of life and what's going on, I think. Like,
absolutely.
and I
Yeah.
feel like if you want so much to have this really good, you know, solid, positive vibration coming from you all the time, and you have something like this happening in your life, how do you counteract that? Like,
Mm.
what would you suggest maybe like counteracting that for someone? I think because I mean I know strategies, I know things,
Yeah.
and I practice them, and it's there, but I would love new ideas and
Yeah. Oh,
thoughts.
yeah. Cool. I do have thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is, we all have a major pain point that tends to be situational, right? So might be a loved one who's going through pain right now, and that is our biggest pain point. Everything else seems dwarfed at the time. Or so a lot of my clients, like I mentioned, their job dissatisfaction is their biggest pain point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think it's reasonable to avoid the pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? My ideal would be for people to spend as little time as possible in the doom and gloom stage of that,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to readily pop out of it. And I think the only way you're able to do that more readily is if you're tending to all the other areas just as well, right? And remembering that even though this area, finances, for example, is your pain point, you've got all these other areas in your life, right?
Right.
And this taps into the idea of gratitude as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your personal relationships, your social relationships rather, your intimate relationships, your health and wellness, your personal growth, your career. You have all these different areas, and it continues on and on. And so your biggest pain point, realize, in the scheme of things, it's a real thing that you're feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're putting energy towards making sure all these other areas are where you want them to be, you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of almost lean into that a little bit as you're going through
Right.
this rough spot. It's not reasonable to think you can avoid a rough spot or feeling even really, really shitty in this one area. Like, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen. But
Mm-hmm.
man, if you can do that, knowing that you've got kind of these other things going well for you, it just I believe you won't spend as much time in the low, the feeling is low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So, people talk about balance, right?
Right.
Um, which I like the idea of that, but anytime I think of balance, and I may have shared this with you before, I always get this image of a person who's trying to balance it all, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's work-life balance, but it can be the same as, loved one balance, with finance balance, with health and wellness balance. But you can be balanced with like 500 pounds here, 500 pounds here, 500 pounds.
Right.
You can have an equal amount of stress or pressure or weight. It's like, I don't strive for balance. I strive for like work-life integration, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
right? Because you get, the image that comes to me are the Wall Street types, right? That work incredibly hard, it's crazy, and then they play and they crash incredibly hard and all that. It's like, that's a very intense lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be
Mm-hmm.
great if we didn't have to add more here just to balance things out?
Right.
Um, so the idea of balance is nice. But to
Mhm.
me, it's more about, simplifying is my whole angle.
Mhm.
And so if you can kind of make sure you're tending, addressing each area, you're aware of it, putting intention
Right.
each area, you're gonna have times where one feels a little out of whack. I
Right.
think that's just natural with
Yeah.
with the flow of day to day.
It feels like it just is, and I think recognizing it is like one of the first things, having awareness about it. And then
For sure.
the other thing that, like I sort of, my go-to is like, you can always find the good in any situation, even if it is a situation where there's a lot of pain and suffering.
Hmm.
And I think that's where my go-to is. And I think of Tony Robbins' quote, and I just put a post up about this, but it's like, he says something like, make pain your counselor.
Hmm.
And for me, it's like, okay, so I'm in this place of pain and suffering because in that moment, I'm choosing to be there. Like you said, you want people to pop out of it. And that's the ultimate goal. And sometimes I don't want to, and I want to find the opportunity in that
Totally.
place.
Totally.
And so that's how I was like thinking of that quote, because I saw that and I was like, man, this shit just pops up right when you need
Yeah.
it, right? And
That's the
that's
universe
that.
again. Of course,
Yes.
it's there. It's
Yep.
presenting yep.
Yep. It's exactly what you need. And so it's like, yes, make pain your counselor, make it your coach, your whatever, and find the opportunity in it. And so that's sort of my kind of go-to. I mean,
Yes.
there are times when I was like, fuck this whole shit. I'm not doing any of this. I'm going to sit here and wallow in my misery. And I have to honor that for a little bit. And I know that I don't want to stay there, because you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. So the only thing, and I'm right with you, I would say my philosophy aligns right with that. The only thing I insist upon is the action part,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the reflecting, what is this supposed to mean? What can I get from this? Challenging yourself. But it's like, okay. And so with this newfound knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
I will continue to sit in it for a little bit. That's fine, but do so intentionally, right?
Right. Right.
You can sit in it. I'm just gonna sit in this a little bit. I'm gonna be grateful for this, that, and whatever, and I'm just gonna sit. Give me another day or whatever. But then
Mm-hmm.
what? It's having the action.
Yeah. Yeah. I dig that. Because we forget about the action. We're like, okay,
Oh,
I'm
it's
good.
easy
I'm
to.
good. I'm totally
Oh
good now.
yeah. Well,
And
it's
then you're
not
like,
just that,
wait,
but
why
there's
didn't that work?
so much other stuff. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's so much other stuff going on, right? That
Hmm.
you don't have to take action in this particular area because, oh well, I got this coming up and this coming up.
Right.
So when we don't have our own plan of action, the
Hmm.
world will be happy to give us theirs.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for that. That was awesome. I
Oh yeah.
appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else new with me.
Oh,
I
I'm
went to
sure
Las
there is.
I went to Las Vegas. Not my jam.
Yeah. Okay. Why did you go to Vegas if it wasn't?
No, I went for a conference,
Yeah.
and like, I had been to Vegas in the early 90s and I loved it. It was really fun, but it's so different now,
Oh
and
my
it's
gosh. Yeah.
so not my deal. But we went to a conference, for to learn about the conference was like No Victim Left Behind,
Hmm.
and it was about victims of mass fatality and mass shootings and disasters, and
Yeah.
how victims advocates can make or break someone's world when that happens. And so we spent 3 days listening to tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And I knew it was going to be heavy, but we
Hmm.
all, we both left there. And we're like, we're never going to this again. This was awful.
I mean, oh gosh.
It was awful. Like, we spent 2 weeks just processing the secondary trauma that we got listening to, the things about the Aurora Theater shooting and about 9/11 and about the thing in Las Vegas and California, and like, it was
My
just
God.
like god awful.
What's immediately curious to me is the location for that type of gathering. Right, I get Vegas as a conference location, absolutely, but you're not leaving a session all day and being, let's hit the craps tables, right? You're
Right.
like, I gotta sleep. Like
Uh-huh.
that is emotionally powerful, draining stuff.
Yeah,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
it. So the location was intentional because it was the 2-year anniversary for the Harvest mass shooting at the Mandalay Bay.
Yep.
And so they were doing, it was very intentional. It was that sort of that weekend was like the 2-year anniversary. So that was intentional. It was also kind of strange that they had this conference in a conference center that was completely isolated and remote from any casino, anything. It was like its own little conference center. So if you wanted to escape from this awfulness, like there was nowhere to go. Like it was like you walk out and you are right south of the airport. And so the three of us, I went with a couple of people, and we're like, this is the most god awful place to have this. Like if you wanted to just go and sit and not think about this for an hour or so, you can't. So it's like always there. It's in your face. And so we wanted to provide feedback, and they weren't even taking like feedback forms. So we're like, nope,